Hi guys, hope you're doing well. So this camera comparison is basically between the iPhone XR and the iPhone 12. But to make it more interesting, I've also compared it with the Samsung's flagship phone, the S20 Ultra. And to make it even more interesting, I've also paired it with the Pixel 2 XL. So we'll also see like very old Pixel 2 XL, how it still performs. You will also get an idea how Pixel phones, even the older ones, how they compare with the newer flagship phones. So that is just something interesting to see. So I've just added that also into the mix. Now I'm viewing the photos and videos also on my OLED panel for better accurate colors. So I would suggest the same to you as well. Now the photos are arranged as ABCD from left to right. What I'll do is I'll display the photos and the videos right in front of you. So we'll see what differences are there. We won't know at first on which phone that photo or video was taken, so that you can choose your favorite first and then we'll know which one wins. So in this way you will better understand which type of phone and which type of processing is better suited for your liking. So you will understand if you like the iPhone 12 or if you like the Samsung's processing or if you like the Pixel processing. And the most relevant comparison of 2020 would be between the iPhone XR and the iPhone 12. So we'll just see how much of a difference that newer flagship makes. So do let me know in the comment section which phones, photos and videos you like the most and which one do you think you would go for. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. So these are my first set of photos. So do note that I had taken all these photos from the same distance, so you'll see the difference in focal length as well. So the first one I can see is pretty zoomed in, but it also maintains a lot of details in the background. The colors are also balanced really well. In the B one, actually I don't see any difference in B and C. But if you see really closely, if you are pixel peeping, then I would say there is a slight difference in. I think the B1 has more details in the background blur also in my model's dress. I think the colors are more refined and but I think I would choose the C1 because the colors are more better and the details in the dress in the subject in focus, they are portrayed really well. So I think the C1 is good. The D1 is actually really dark. But the portrait mode cutout is really done well in the D1. But it's a dark image overall. But to choose my favorite, I think I would go with A because I think it's well balanced in all the aspects that we see, the details, the colors, the subject in focus. Oh, so A was S20 Ultra, B is iPhone 12, C is iPhone XR, and D is Pixel 2 XL. Yeah, that's why if you see Pixel always produces some darker results, but the portrait mode cutout is really done well. But notice that there is not much of a difference between the iPhone 12 and the iPhone XR, and this is really interesting. If you're just pixel peeping, then you would notice some difference in the details and in the colors as well. And do note that these photos are not at all edited. These are straight from the camera because after editing, probably you can make all of these photos look like the same. So moving on, these are the next set of images. On iPhone 12, we can go up to 5 times digital zoom, and that's why all of these photos were taken in 5 times digital zoom. So if you see, A and D are actually pretty refined, and the building also has good details. B1 is a bit washed out, I would say. The C1 is also well balanced, but if you see the D1, it actually captures more details even in the 5 times zoom. So this is pretty interesting to see. But if I had to pick a favorite, I would probably choose over two things. The one is the building and the clouds. But if you notice closely, the greenish building in front also is more detailed, I think, in C. So I would go with C in this. Oh, it's the iPhone 12. So if you see again, the Pixel produced a darker image. The S20 Ultra, surprisingly, 5 times zoom is a good zoom. But I think this is because of the digital zoom. If you look at the optical zooms that the S20 Ultra has, then I think it's at 4 times, not at 5 times. So it's a digital zoom again. So it's a bit washed out. The iPhone 12 is well balanced, I would say. But the iPhone XR also does a really good job in the 5 times zoom, because I really don't see much of a difference in all of these images to say. Now the next set of images are taken in low light in night mode. A is pretty washed out and there are not much details in the shadows there. And even the flaring of the light, the lamp, is not handled pretty well in A. So I would not choose that one. B is, I think, pretty well balanced even in the shadows. And C is also not doing really well. And also if you see the lamp in C, it's again washed out. So I would go with B in this one. iPhone 12. The iPhone XR does not have a night mode. The night images are pretty, they are not that washed out, but in comparison they have less details and they are a bit grainy. But if you notice in the iPhone XR, I think because of the lacking of the night mode, there is also some flaring going on. अच्छा दिख रहा है ना? Now moving on to the next set of images, this is not the portrait mode, this is a standard mode. So if you look at these images, then I think there is some distortion in the borders in B, but I think the sky is well pronounced in A. And also I like the colors of A, it is well balanced. The skin tones are also well balanced. In the B again, it's really dark. C is also okay-ish, I would say. Again, A and C go hand in hand, but I would choose A because it actually balances out the subject really well in this. iPhone 12 again. So sir, I'm surprised to choose the iPhone 12 most of the times because I would usually go with S20 Ultra images because they are usually well balanced, but the iPhone 12 is also doing a pretty great job, I would say. And if you compare closely iPhone 12 and iPhone 10, again you don't see much of a difference there. Like even in the background also, the dynamic range, if you see, it's actually really good. The Smart HDR3 does produce better results. I would say if you look at the wall behind her, not much of a difference, I would say. So you have it there. Now the next one is an ultra wide shot, and this is pretty clear to me which one is which. If you see on B, the colors are really popped up, and the sky is a bit magenta or violetish or pinkish. I could say the A one produces realistic colors. So I think we know which one is which here. But still, what I would choose is the B one because at first glance and without any editing, it looks really popped up and really nice. So I think most people would prefer that. But it's your personal decision on that. See, I told you that's the S20 Ultra and the iPhone 12 is on the left one, which produces realistic colors. Now we have another ultra wide shot with us, and if you see here again on the left side, the cloud is a bit violetish, uh, and on the B side, it's a bit realistic. But I really took this image actually to check out the dynamic range, and if you shoot directly into the sun. So if you see on A, the sun is a bit washed out, but on B, it is well defined. And also the B is capturing more detail. It goes more wide. I think I would prefer B in this, and I think I already know which phone this photo is taken from. The iPhone 12. S20 Ultra is after using it for like almost a year now, I can say that the dynamic range is not that reliable. Sometimes it produces great results, sometimes not. Clearly compared to the iPhone 12, we can see the dynamic range is not that great. The iPhone 12 produces really great results, and thanks to that smart HDR and also deep fusion, which acts on all the cameras now. So I think it's a pretty good deal on the iPhone 12. Now this is a macro shot, and again it's pretty obvious to me as a tech reviewer, at least I can say from which phone it is taken, because if you see the plane of focus is very narrow, everything else is blurred out and not in focus. But I think I would prefer C in this because I think it simply produces more details in the subject. So I knew it. A is S20 Ultra because it has a bigger lens, 108 megapixels, so it has a very narrow plane of focus. So macro shots are not that great in my experience. I usually have to use 2 times zoom for that to get a good macro. Just straight out of the camera, it actually blurs out everything. But the iPhone 12 also, I would say, I think in medium light conditions, it does not do that much of a great job. The iPhone 10R is doing a better job, I would say, in details when it comes to close-up shots. But this is just one of the examples that we have. Now, next shot, I think A is producing more details. But if you see in the background, the light, the color, the pinkish color, actually, I had something besides that with pinkish color. So the C one is actually capturing that, and it's also lighting up the subject more. But when it comes to B is a bit washed out in low light scenarios. But A is just on a different league, I would say. I think I would prefer C in this situation because it seems to be a pretty balanced photo. S20 Ultra. The iPhone 10R is capturing a lot of details, and the photo is more than usable. It's actually really good. Now the other set of images are again in low light using night mode, and this one I want to test out the ultra wide lens because now on the iPhone 12 we also have night mode on the ultra wide camera. We already had that on the S20 Ultra. You know, these are taken from either the S20 Ultra or the iPhone 12. So let's see which one actually produces better results. So if you see on the B one, there is some weird flaring going on in that B image, but if you see the shadows, they are also lit up really well. That trash can box that was there, you can clearly see that green color, and you can clearly see the details in the grass also. Whereas in the A one, that those shadows are existent. You can see the grass, but not as well as you can see on the B one. So we'll see which one. This is S20 Ultra. So S20 Ultra surprisingly is producing a flaring effect. Okay, so now I notice that flaring effect in the A as well. If you see, if you see below, a lot of yellow light-ish flaring is going on in the iPhone 12 because iPhones usually produce that flaring effect when you shoot lights directly in low light. But it's a good thing that the S20 Ultra actually captures more details also, and also there are a lot of details in the shadow areas. Now this is a front portrait shot. The C1 is actually really dark, so I think we know from which phone this one was taken. B is a bit washed out with the colors. D is actually warmer than I expected. A is actually producing some balanced results, but I think I would go with the D on this, even though it's producing warmer results, but colors are maintained well, the details are maintained well. I think the background blur did not get activated for this one, so probably that needs to be adjusted in post by me. Apologies. But I think I'll go with the D one because it just looks really well. S20 Ultra. But the hair, if you see in the iPhone 12, they are actually more defined on the iPhone 12 than the iPhone 10R. Now again, this next image, if you see, A and B are pretty warm because the sun was actually lighting me up. And I think C handled it really well. There is also a lot of details in the clouds, but the colors, I think, of the clouds is changed. I think A and B had more realistic colors when it comes to the clouds. But if you see my sweatshirt, again, A is really dark. B is well balanced, even on my skin, on my face. C is on a different league of its own, but I think it's a pretty balanced image, more color popped image, I would say. S20 Ultra is the C one. B is more balanced, so iPhone 12 is more balanced, but again on the warmer side, as the sun was pointing towards me, I think this was the more realistic of the bunch. If you see, the iPhone 10 also produced a really great photo, I would say. And if you're actually not comparing with the other two photos, then I would say iPhone 10 is also pretty acceptable and also a pretty good photo. Now this image is taken in extreme low light. We only have this light of love in front of us as a subject. The C1 has a more purplish background curtain, whereas the other ones, A and B especially, have more details. D is really dark, but on the subject, it's actually focusing really well. But if you look at the subject itself, I think B is a bit washed out. A is doing a really great job. Even C is doing that. It is popping up the colors even more. D is also balanced, but it's a bit washed out. So let's see which one is one. I think I would prefer A in this situation because in the background also it's retaining more details. S20 Ultra again, I think I'm having a mix of S20 Ultra and iPhone 12 choices. So I'm actually surprised with the performance of the iPhone 10R even in extreme low light because I think it's doing a pretty great job here as well. Now this is a low light video. So if you see A first, I think it's doing a pretty great job. B is a bit washed out on the subject. Man, I love the C one because the subject also, I mean, it has a lot of details and the shadow areas are, even though they are black, but I think the subject is really good. On the A as well, it's a bit washed out. S20 Ultra because it has a larger sensor, so it lets in more light, and that is why the low light images and videos are not that grainy. But the iPhone 12 also is not doing a bad job, it's doing really well. And surprisingly, even the iPhone 10R is doing really well. When you compare side by side, it does look a bit washed out, but if you're not comparing, then it's a pretty good video, I would say. So this is a video check to check out the dynamic range. Notice the clouds on A are a bit washed out. On the B, they are more detailed. Let's check on C. C also does a pretty good job, but I think I would prefer B in this situation. The iPhone 12, actually it has good dynamic range. And so far we've seen that iPhone 12 has really great dynamic range, even compared to Samsung's flagship. And also the iPhone 10R. The iPhone 10R isn't bad at all, again I would say that. But in comparison, the iPhone 12 does a better job in dynamic range. Especially producing those details, and that HDR, Dolby Vision HDR10 does a really great job. By the way, this was not in the Dolby Vision HDR because the others don't have that, so I did not I wanted to make a fair comparison, so that's why I had turned off the Dolby Vision HDR for this video test. But even after keeping that off, the details are preserved really well. The dynamic range is really good. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys like this video. Do let me know in the comment section which phones, photos and videos you like the most. A sub would be really appreciated. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.